Hello, fellow pen lovers and stationery enthusiasts. It's Christy here, Snarky Wordsworth over on Instagram and Reddit. And today I am finally doing my full review of Zodiac Pen Company's Sagittarius model. If I'm honest, I thought I'd done this review quite some time ago, but upon looking through my previous videos, I discovered, nope, had not. And that's really, really a shame because this is such a nice pen, like such a nice pen. I love this as much as I loved my first design. Back at the very, very beginning of this year, when I was starting my whole bespoke pen journey, I ordered the Virgo from him. Now, the Virgo is one of his smaller designs, and at that point especially, I was very much a pocket pen person. I did not like anything oversized. For me, even the Benu Euphoria was like edging on the verge of too large. So I was a little bit anxious, and I know a lot of bespoke pens do tend to be a bit bigger than a lot of your more mainstream pens. So went with the Virgo, absolutely adored it. I generally have that thing inked up. I like it a lot. I think it's incredibly comfortable. And I knew pretty early on that I wanted to try another one of Bart's designs because they are so comfortable in the hand and they're so lovely, and the process itself is so much fun with him. Now, the first pen, that Virgo, I knew exactly what I wanted. I saw the golden abalone blanks that he had posted and I was like, need it. And since I was still in that sort of like smaller pen phase, I like narrowed things down to the Virgo pretty quickly. Now for the second pen, I was definitely a little bit more open to different possibilities, but that also made things a little bit more challenging. Had a couple pens in mind, but I really wasn't sure what to do. So I talked about my preferences and the kind of caveats that I have when it comes to pens. I'm one of those people who's like hypersensitive to sharp edges. I really, really hate large steps in the hand. Like there's some pens that are absolutely stunning, but if that step is noticeable for me, I can't use it. And if I can't use it, there's really no point in adding it to my collection, right? So I talked to him about that, and he was super duper upfront. He told me right away which pens in his collection would probably work and which ones wouldn't. He didn't try and sell me on every single design. He was like, okay, so things without a big step, XYZ. And thankfully, the Sagittarius was part of his recommendations. And this is one of those designs that I had really gravitated towards. I really love when both the theme and design kind of work together. So I love these just slightly pointed finials that give it that kind of streamlined arrow-esque vibe, which of course goes really well with the Sagittarius. And then from there, and knowing that of course I was going to get smoother edges and a lack of a step, I was pretty much sold on this particular pen. Now, like I mentioned before, the first pen I got from him, I knew I wanted that golden abalone blank, but I had zero idea of what kind of blank I wanted with the Sagittarius. I talked to him for quite a while, went back and forth with different possibilities. I'd asked, do you have these blanks from this company? What do you think that would look like with this particular makeup? Do you think that, it would vibe with my general aesthetic, which is usually like very much naturals, like creams, beiges, greens, things like that. And we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he at no point was ever like impatient. It was great. And then I saw Poorly Controlled's post about her silver linings blank. And I immediately threw out all the options that I had talked about and was like, I would like this blank. Do you think it would work? And I am so happy that I went with it because this just makes sense with this pen. I love the base color, which is this lovely sort of shade of bluish gray. And then these shots of white and shine make it look almost like a lightning strike, which again, for me, really works in with that whole celestial theming. And then it doesn't pick up perfectly on screen, but they're also just these flashes of sort of like lavender and pink that just add this different kind of dimension to it. Again, I love like the whole nebula, celestial galaxy feeling that you get with this, and with the whole concept of like the zodiac. I just kind of think it's perfect. And I just love the way that this turned out. And I don't have anything in my collection that's quite like this, even amongst my bespoke pens. Like, it just looks a little bit different, and yet it still kind of fits in with my aesthetic. It's not like crazy colorful or like bright and, super duper jewel toned or anything like that, but it still is unique and interesting. And I love that. That's one of those things that I just keep gravitating towards these bespoke pens, because every single one is going to be different. Even if somebody picks up another Sagittarius from him that happens to be in poorly controlled silver lining, it's not going to be exactly the same. There will always be these teeny tiny variances, whether it be from the resin or, just tiny, almost imperceptible differences within, the shaping of the pen itself. And I don't know, there's something wonderful about having something that's just a little bit all my own. So now that we sort of talked about the process, how I came up with this particular colorway and how much I absolutely love it, let's go ahead and just do a couple of really, really quick specs. This is sort of a middle of the road size-wise bespoke pen, but it definitely falls in the larger pen size within my own collection. It is 146 millimeters when it's capped. When it is uncapped, we are at 138 millimeters, and it does not post. I mean, I guess you could try and shove this on here, but I would absolutely not recommend that. And it is of a size, for my rather small hands, admittedly, to be just perfectly comfortable. You do see that it extends a fair amount behind my hands, so it would work just fine for someone with much larger hands. But even for someone with small hands, it does not feel oversized in any way, shape, or form. I also love the grip section, which at its smaller point, it does have a bit of a pinch to it, is right around that same size of an SD. If you do choke up, it is a little bit broader, but not by much. And again, these threads have been smoothed way, way down, and you can see there's virtually no step down. There's a little tiny bit of a lip, but again, it's been smoothed way down for me, so I cannot really feel it or notice it that much. And even if your thumb does extend down to those threads, it's not going to be bothered. So I really, really love that. Now, this originally came with a standard Jowo number 6 in fine, and I do think that he does a great job with those nibs. They're slightly tuned by him, I believe. But when I was at the San Francisco Pen Show, I picked up one of Kirk Speer's special San Francisco Pen Show 2024 nibs, and then I had him do a cursive smooth italic fine specialty grind on it. I love Kirk Speer's work. I have a number of his nibs at this point, and it's just a lot of fun to write with them. I am really particularly comfortable with the cursive smooth italic style, and so that's what I decided to get. And I write with this equally, probably within both that standard fine and the cursive smooth italic. I just swapped them out. Super easy, super comfortable. It is a cartridge converter. I almost always use, oh, and I'm almost out again. I have refilled this thing so many times, and it's just wonderful. I have, like I said, used it so much that I've refilled it multiple times in the couple of months that I've had it in my possession, and I am not tired of it yet. I still really enjoy writing with it. It's one of those pens, like I said, his designs are so comfortable in the hand that, even if I'm going for a long writing session, I don't have to stop and pause and shake my hand out, which is not always the case. Whether we're talking about mainstream pens or bespoke pens, like, I have persnickety hands. I get that, and I totally acknowledge that sometimes pens just don't work for me. This one does. Okay, now that we've got the specs out of the way, let's go ahead and do a really quick size comparison just so you can kind of see how it lines up with some more common pens out in the market. All right, when capped, you can see that the Sagittarius sort of leans a little bit on the larger side of my own personal collection, but by no means would I describe the SD as a particularly giant-sized pen in the realm of all fountain pens. It just happens to be one of the larger pens in my collection. So you can see that the SD, when capped, is a tiny smidge longer than the Sagittarius, whereas the Sagittarius is a little tiny bit bigger than the Lamy 2000, bigger still than the Platinum 3776, significantly longer than the Sailor Pro Gear, and giant compared to the Kaweco Brass Sport. So when capped, it kind of falls on the larger end of things, but of course, when you're writing with it, it might be a little bit different depending on how you configure the pens as they're being written with. So let's go ahead and either uncap or post the ones that are remaining so we can see where it falls at that point. Okay, so as you can see, when I've configured the pens as if I were going to write with them, things change completely. The Sagittarius is now one of my shorter pens, whereas the Platinum, Lamy, and Sailor are all significantly longer. The Sagittarius actually lines up right around the same length as the Kaweco Brass Sport, which is always a bit of a surprise to me, and the SD is smaller than all of the other pens on the board. I don't know if you configure your pens in the same way that I do, but if you do, this is how the Sagittarius kind of falls after everything is said and done. All right, now that we've got the specs and the size comparison out of the way, I'm just going to do a very, very quick writing sample for you. Again, remember, this isn't the original nib. This is a Kirk Speer customized nib, but it will at least give you an idea of how the pen looks when it's gliding across the page, so you can make decisions on your own as to if you think it might work for you. All right, so this has been my review of the Zodiac Pen Company's Sagittarius model. Like I've been saying the whole time, I really do love this pen. Working with Bart on a design is so much fun. I love the things that he does. I mean, the amount of care he puts into each of the pens that he designs, the fact that, you know, we're dealing with this celestial theme, and he has those little subtle details like the just slightly pointed and tapered look of the pen itself, so that it has that kind of arrow vibe to it. And his willingness to work with me and to talk everything out. I mean, that level of patience is incredible in my mind, because I do ask a ton of questions every time I get a pen from him, and he never ever is short. He's always willing to go the extra mile as far as finding exactly what will work for me. And that goes a whole long way for me when it comes to, will I go with the company again? I mean, I already know that I will be getting a third pen from his company because I like the process so much and I love the designs that he comes up with. The standard Yovo that he puts in his pens, excellent, well-tuned. I can write with it outside of the box immediately. The only reason that I swapped out was because I happened to be in San Francisco at the pen show and I wanted a custom grind on that specialty nib. So that's why it's a little bit different. But either way, whether you decide to go with the standard nib or put in something special, it's going to be a good pen for you. It will write very well. The swap process is really, really simple. I have not yet had any kind of problems with that. It doesn't catch. It feels very secure. So I would say sky's the limit as far as custom grinds go on this guy. Be happy trying something new. Don't worry about catches or anything like that. It's a solid case for a nib if you are into specialty nibs. If this video has in any way been interesting, useful, entertaining, please do consider giving me a thumbs up or potentially even subscribing to the channel. If you happen to have any questions about this particular design, if you have questions about the Virgo that I also have, or if you have any comments about your experiences with Zodiac Pen or with other bespoke pen makers, please put those in the comments. I love hearing from other people. I love talking about pens and inks, and I am super new to the bespoke pen process. I only just started getting custom pens this year, so advice is always welcome too, recommendations, whatever. But like I've been saying, this is a wonderful pen for me. I really love writing with it, and I don't know that I can recommend it any harder because I do really, really love it. If you have stayed with me this entire video, thank you so, so much. You are everything that is awesome. It's always so much fun to put these together because I genuinely find so much joy in sharing how much I'm enjoying this whole year of the bespoke pen. I've been having such incredible experiences meeting different bespoke pen makers and, getting to know everybody's different vibe, because everyone does have like a different style and the way they make things and the way they interact. And it's just been absolutely delightful. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye-bye.